Have you ever wondered what people did before X-rays? Before we even knew what germs were or that blood circulated through our bodies? Well, today we're going on a journey back in time into the kind of strange but also brilliant world of ancient medicine. We're going to uncover a theory about 4 body fluids that literally defined how we saw health for over 1,500 years. Let's get into it.
So, here's our roadmap. We'll kick things off back when healing came from the gods. Then we'll get into the game-changing idea of the 4 humors. We'll see how a huge taboo stopped science in its tracks, meet the guy who became the authority for centuries, and then we'll put it all together to see the grand theory that ruled medicine for so long. All right, so let's set the scene. We're starting way, way back, a time when getting sick wasn't a biological problem, it was a spiritual one. You have to forget everything you know about viruses and bacteria. We're talking about angry gods and divine punishment. I mean, really think about it. Put yourself in their shoes for a second. You wake up with a burning fever or a nasty cough. There are no doctors, no pharmacies. What's your next move? What do you do? Well, you'd go to a temple, specifically a shrine built for Asclepius, the god of healing. The whole idea was you'd go there, sleep in the shrine, and the god himself would visit you in your dreams and just tell you the cure. It's wild to think about. Medicine wasn't science. It was a message from another world. But then a totally revolutionary idea starts to bubble up. An idea that's going to change, well, everything. What if getting sick has absolutely nothing to do with the gods at all? And this, right here, is the turning point. Thinkers, especially the Hippocratic writers, started looking for rational explanations. They began to argue that an illness wasn't some divine punishment, but was actually the result of natural things. Like the environment, or maybe just something you ate. So, if it's not the gods, then what is it? This new rational approach needed a system, right? A theory to explain how the human body actually works. And the one they came up with was so powerful, it would dominate Western medicine for over a millennium and a half. It was called humorism, and the core idea was actually pretty straightforward. Your body is basically a vessel holding 4 essential liquids, or humors. And these weren't just random fluids. They believed this stuff was the very essence of your physical self. The system was just beautifully simple. If you were healthy, it meant your 4 humors were in perfect harmony. And being sick? Well, that just meant one of them was out of balance. You had too much of one or too little of another. It's all about balance. And here are the big 4: blood, yellow bile, black bile, and phlegm. Now, if a doctor thought you had, say, too much blood, the treatment was pretty logical to them. Let's get some of that blood out. Yep, this is the origin of bloodletting, a practice that stuck around for a shockingly long time. Every treatment, whether it was changing your diet or taking a bath, was all about one thing: getting those fluids back in balance. Okay, but there was a huge, massive problem with all of this. How are you supposed to understand what's going on inside the body if you are never ever allowed to actually look inside it? This brings us to a major roadblock in medical history. See, for centuries, dissecting a human body was a powerful taboo. It was seen as a total violation, a desecration. So these early doctors were essentially just guessing. Imagine trying to draw a detailed map of a country you've never been allowed to enter. You're just working off clues from the outside. And this led to some interesting conclusions. Take Aristotle, one of the most brilliant minds in history. He figured the heart must be the center of intelligence because, well, you can feel it beating faster when you get emotional. So he reasoned the brain must just be a radiator, there to cool down the passionate heart. It's perfectly logical if you can't actually look inside to check. But then, for this brief, glorious moment in Alexandria, the taboo was lifted. For the first time ever, physicians could dissect human bodies. And wow, the discoveries came flooding in. They figured out that nerves led to the brain, not the heart. They could tell the difference between nerves for feeling and nerves for moving. They were on the very edge of understanding modern neurology. And just as quickly as it opened, that window slammed shut. The ban on human dissection came back. And for the next 1,500 years, medical progress was basically frozen in time, relying on the few texts that came out of that short-lived golden age. So with everything at a standstill, how did medicine even function? Well, it didn't really move forward. Instead, it all coalesced around the work of one man, a physician so influential that he became the final word on the subject for a millennium and a half. His name was Galen, and he was a genius at synthesis. He took everything that was known at the time, from Hippocrates all the way to those discoveries in Alexandria, and he wove it all together into this single, incredibly comprehensive system. It was so logical, so complete, that for centuries, to question Galen was like questioning medicine itself. He was medicine. Now, Galen was a brilliant anatomist, no doubt about it, but he was facing that very same problem, the dissection taboo. So how on earth did he build this monumental system without being able to look inside a human being? Well, he got creative, really creative. He worked as a doctor to gladiators, which gave him a pretty intense up-close look at human anatomy through their wounds. And for everything else, he dissected animals, especially apes, just assuming their insides were close enough to ours. And you know what? He got a ton of stuff right. He mapped out the human skeleton and muscles with amazing accuracy, and he was the one who definitively proved Aristotle wrong. The mind is in the brain, case closed. But, and this is a really big but, relying on animals also led to some major errors. The most famous one is the rete mirabili, which means wonderful network. It's this web of blood vessels found in animals like sheep, but it absolutely does not exist in humans. Yet, because Galen's side it was there, for the next 1,300 years, medical students were taught about this phantom body part. They were learning an anatomy that wasn't even real. So let's bring it all home. This is the grand finale. We're going to see how Galen took his anatomical knowledge, both the brilliant parts and the mistaken parts, and merged it with the theory of the four humors to create one single, unified theory of everything about the human body. And this is it. The absolute centerpiece of Greco-Roman medicine. It is so elegant. Galen connected everything. Each of the four humors was tied to one of the four ancient elements, earth, air, fire, water, and each was linked to a primary organ in the body and a set of qualities like hot, cold, wet, or dry. It's this beautiful, symmetrical system that tries to explain not just the body, but its place in the entire cosmos. And this gave doctors a crystal clear, logical process. Okay, so let's say you come in with a fever. Step 1, the doctor observes your symptoms. You're hot and you're dry. Step 2, they look at the chart. Hot and dry. That corresponds to yellow bile. So your diagnosis is an excess of yellow bile. And step 3, the cure, is to apply the opposite, a treatment to reduce that yellow bile. It's a complete rational system from A to Z. This whole system, which lasted for so long, was built on brilliant logic and careful observation. But it was also built on some fundamental mistakes. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What accepted medical facts of our time, the things we think are completely obvious truths, will future generations look back on and see as our very own version of the four humors?